In this lesson, we will go over the general idea of exponents. Let's take a look at the different parts of a power. If you look at this expression, 3 squared, there are two parts. The large number is called the base. The small number is called the exponent. We can read this two different ways. We can either read it as 3 to the second power, or whenever the exponent is 2, another way to say it is we can say 3 squared. Now, what does an exponent mean? An exponent means you take the base and you multiply it by the same number of times as the exponent tells you. So you multiply it by itself 2 times, and therefore its answer is 9. So 3 squared means 3 times 3, which equals 9. So the base is multiplied by itself as many times as the exponent tells you to do it. Let's look at some additional examples. In this next slide, it says 4 squared. So 4 is the base, and 2 is the exponent. So you take the base and multiply it by itself as many times as the exponent tells you. In this case, twice. So 4 times 4 is 16. Therefore, 4 squared is 16. In the next example, we have 7 squared, or 7 to the second power. Again, you take the base and multiply it by itself the number of times the exponent tells you. So in this case, 7 times 7, or 7 squared, is 49. In the next example, the exponent has changed to a 3. We can read this either 2 to the third power, or another way to read an exponent when it's 3, we can say 2 cubed. So this time we will take the base and multiply it by itself 3 times. So it's not 2 times 3, it's the base multiplied by itself 3 times. So 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 times 2 would be 8. So 2 to the third power, or 2 cubed, would equal 8. In the next example, we have 6 to the third power, or 6 cubed. So again, we're going to take the base and multiply it by itself 3 times. So 6 times 6 is 36. And then 36 times 6, if you were to actually work it out, is 216. So 6 to the third power, or 6 cubed, equals 216. In this next example, we have 4 to the third power, or 4 cubed. So we will take the base and multiply it by itself 3 times. So when we multiply this out, 4 times 4 is 16, and then 16 times 4 equals 64. So 4 to the third power, or 4 cubed, equals 64. Now we're going to move up to the fourth power. There's no special way to say to the fourth power. It's just simply 3 to the fourth power. So we'll take the 3, which is the base, and multiply it by itself 4 times. So starting with the first 2, that equals 9. Dropping down the next one, 9 times 3 is 27. And then dropping down the last one, 27 times 3 equals 81. An easier way that I like to do it is if I rewrite that problem, I just split it in half, and 3 times 3 is 9. These two 3 equals 9, and then 9 times 9 is 81. Either way, it will work. So 3 to the fourth power is 81. Okay, what about to the fifth power? Again, the same idea. You take the base and multiply it by itself the number of times the exponent tells you. In this case, 5 times. So 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. And 16 times 2 is 32. So in each case, I just kept dropping down an additional 2 until all 5 have been used. So 2 to the fifth power equals 32. 5 to the third power, or 5 cubed. So 5 multiplied by itself 3 times. 5 times 5 is 25. And then 25 times 5 is 125. So 5 cubed is 125. What about to the 0 power? Most people think that anything to the 0 power equals 0. But in fact, anything to the 0 power actually equals 1. So whether you have 5 to the 0 power, 10 to the 0 power, 100 to the 0 power, every answer is going to equal 1. Okay, let's test yourself. So as you're watching this video, see if you can come up with the answers to 2 cubed, 3 to the 4th, and 2 to the 6th. I'll give you a moment, and then I'll reveal the answers. Two to the 3rd power, hopefully you got 8. 2 times 2 times 2 equals 8. 3 to the 4th power, which we did earlier in this video, 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 is 81. 2 to the 6th power, which would be multiplying the 2 by itself 6 times, comes out to 64. If you had trouble getting these answers, it would be good to go back and review some of the other problems done in this video. Let's move on to the next problems. In these problems, we now have negative numbers. Now, if you look at these two problems, they look very similar. We have negative 3 in parentheses squared, and then negative 3 not in parentheses squared. There is a difference in their answers and a difference in their meanings. When the number inside parentheses is a negative, that means the entire thing is going to be squared. So negative 3 will be multiplied by itself. And we know that a negative times a negative is a positive, so our final answer for this first one is a positive 9. In this second problem, the difference is there are no parentheses. When there are no parentheses, then only what's immediately next to the exponent gets squared. So the negative actually drops down into the answer, and you're only squaring the 3. So in this one, the answer is actually negative 9. So again, if the number is negative and it's in parentheses, then you square the entire number, including the negative sign. If it's not in parentheses, then only what's next to the squared symbol will be squared, and the negative drops down. Okay, so let's test yourself. So will negative 8 squared end up being negative, or will it be positive? Remember, there's a difference if the negative 8 is in parentheses versus not. Well, hopefully you guessed negative, because since the negative 8 is not in parentheses, only the 8 will be squared, which is 64, and the negative will drop down in the answer. In this next problem, these are just random problems. We have negative 2 squared. So again, this should come out to a negative 4 because only the 2 is squared. The negative will drop in the answer. So this answer is negative 4. We've done this one. This is just a random dice. Let's do this last one. Negative 5 squared. So this 2 will come out negative because the 5 is not in parentheses. So only the 5 will be squared, and the negative will drop down. And that is the end of this lesson.